There's something strange that happens when you're a chosen one. Not in the fantasy sense, no magic wand or glowing sword, but in a very real, very human way. You might have noticed it without ever understanding what it meant. People seem to treat you differently. Life gives you more chaos than peace. You've been betrayed, overlooked, tested again and again, and yet you're still standing. Why? Because you were passing a test you didn't even know you were taking. A test designed not for your mind, but for your soul. And those who pass this hidden exam often come out on the other side, forever changed. The silent test of isolation. Many of the chosen go through deep periods of isolation. It can feel like the world has forgotten you. Friends disappear, family grows distant, and support vanishes without warning. But this isn't just bad luck or social drift. This is the first test. The universe, God, or whatever force you believe in is stripping away the noise. Why? Because when you're chosen, clarity becomes essential. You must learn to stand on your own, to hear your own voice amid silence. When others fold without company, you build. When others beg for attention, you listen inward. If you've ever felt completely alone and still found a way to push forward, you were passing a test without even knowing it. That wasn't punishment, it was training. Betrayal is a refinement process. One of the most painful signs that you're chosen is betrayal. People you loved, trusted, even defended, turn against you, sometimes brutally, sometimes subtly. It makes you question your judgment, your worth, even your sanity. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Betrayal is a necessary test. It forces you to refine your discernment. It strips away illusions. You learn to see past charm, manipulation, and fake support. Being chosen means developing eyes that see truth, no matter how well it's disguised. And here's something even deeper. When betrayal doesn't break you, it shapes you into a protector, not just of yourself, but of others. You become a guardian of purity because you've seen the damage deception can do. Rejection was a redirection. Rejection hits hard. Jobs you wanted, relationships you nurtured, dreams you chased, slipping right through your fingers, and you probably blamed yourself. But the chosen are often denied paths that aren't aligned with their purpose. What felt like failure was actually spiritual rerouting. You weren't supposed to be accepted there. You weren't meant to thrive in environments that would limit your growth. Chosen ones don't fit in everywhere, and that's by design. When that door slammed shut, it was because something bigger was waiting, but only if you had the courage to keep walking. If you've survived painful rejection and still kept your vision alive, you were unknowingly passing the hardest kind of test, the test of trust. You were called to heal others. After healing yourself, ever notice how people come to you with their problems? Total strangers feel safe unloading their pain onto you. It can be overwhelming, but this isn't random. It's part of your calling. The chosen are often emotional sponges, absorbing the wounds of the world. But you can't heal anyone if you haven't faced your own darkness first. Many of your life's hardest seasons, grief, heartbreak, anxiety, were initiations. They were designed to break you open, then rebuild you with empathy and wisdom. When you finally healed yourself, even partially, you became a lighthouse for others lost in the storm. That's not weakness, that's sacred power, and you earned it by walking through fire. Constant inner conflict means growth is happening. You might feel like you're always at war with yourself. One day, you're confident and clear. The next, you're full of doubt and dread. This mental whiplash might seem like failure, but in truth, it's a sign of deep transformation. The chosen aren't allowed to stay stagnant. When inner conflict arises, it means you're being asked to shed a former version of yourself. It's a test of growth. Will you cling to your comfort zone or evolve into the next phase of your journey? Most people avoid discomfort at all costs, but you leaned in. You felt every ounce of pain, confusion, and loss, and still kept going. That's not weakness. It's spiritual evolution in action. Now pause for a second and ask yourself this: how many of these things have happened to you? Not once, but repeatedly. If you're nodding your head right now, you're starting to realize this wasn't random. You were being shaped for something far beyond the ordinary. You experienced cycles instead of straight lines. In a world obsessed with linear progress, graduate, get a job, marry, retire, the chosen often live in cycles. You may have felt like you were going in circles, returning to the same lessons, the same challenges, the same emotions. But that's because your soul is moving in spirals. Each return brings deeper awareness, not repetition. While others move forward superficially, you're diving inward. These cycles are tests of patience, endurance, and understanding. If you didn't give up when things felt repetitive, if you kept learning even when it felt like déjà vu, you pass one of the most frustrating tests, the spiral of refinement. Unshakable moral compass. even when it costs you. There were moments you could have taken the easy way out, lied, betrayed someone, turned a blind eye, but something inside you wouldn't let you. And maybe it cost you a relationship, a promotion, or even your peace of mind. But this was a moral test. The chosen are watched closely, not by people, but by the divine forces that assign them. Your decisions, when no one's watching, matter more than your public actions. If you stayed true to your values even when it hurt, you demonstrated a kind of integrity that can't be taught. It can only be revealed through trial. You felt everything deeper than others. When you love hard. When you're hurt, it's to the bone. And when you're joyful, it's like your soul is singing. That intensity often made you feel too much, but it wasn't a flaw, it was a signal. Chosen ones are given deeper emotional bandwidth because they carry deeper missions. You're supposed to feel more because you're meant to understand more. This emotional depth is what allows you to write the song, paint the truth, speak life into broken places. So if you ever felt like your emotions were a curse, know this: they were training you for emotional leadership. You were given empathy before power. This one is crucial. Before the chosen are given any kind of power, whether influence, platform, leadership, or resources, they're taught empathy. You had to know what it feels like to be powerless, voiceless, unseen. Because once you rise, the universe wants to make sure you never become the oppressor. If you've gone through years of struggle before catching even a glimpse of breakthrough, that delay was the test. It was making sure your heart could handle the weight of power without turning cold. And if you've risen and still treat people with kindness and humility, you passed one of the highest forms of this invisible test. Strangers recognize something in you. You have a calming energy, or there's something different about you. Maybe they couldn't put it into words, but they felt it. That's because your energy has been marked. The chosen carry a frequency that others can sense. Even if you don't believe in energy or spiritual terms, your presence changes rooms. You bring peace to chaos, clarity to confusion, or intensity to situations that require truth. And guess what? That's not by accident. That's by design. The test was whether you could remain authentic despite pressure to conform. And if you're still you, despite all of it, you're passing that test right now. Synchronicities follow you. Numbers that repeat, people showing up at the perfect moment, dreams that feel like messages. You might call it coincidence, but when it keeps happening, it becomes undeniable. Synchronicities are one of the ways the universe confirms you're on path. The chosen don't receive guidance the same way others do. You get signs, whispers, visions, just subtle enough to ignore if you're not paying attention. But you did pay attention. That's what set you apart. You listened when others laughed. You acted when others waited. These small choices were all parts of the test. And every time you followed your intuition, you strengthened your connection to the mission. You were forged in fire. No chosen one lives a smooth life. In fact, if your life's been chaotic, intense, and full of seemingly impossible challenges, you should take that as confirmation. You were forged in fire because nothing soft can carry a mission this heavy. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Swords are strengthened by flame, and leaders are made through hardship. The pain wasn't pointless. The wounds weren't wasted. Every scar you carry is a medal. Every breakdown became a blueprint. If you're still here, still breathing, still trying, then guess what? You've passed the test of resilience, and now you're ready for your assignment. So what now? You've likely spent most of your life wondering why things never felt normal, why you never quite fit in, why you carried weight that others seemed blind to. It's because you're not here to live a normal life. You're here to shift things, to heal, to build, to guide, to protect. That's what it means to be chosen. Not to be better than others, but to carry a responsibility that most would run from. And if you made it to this point in your journey, after isolation, betrayal, rejection, and emotional chaos, and you're still compassionate, still hopeful, still curious, you've already passed the hardest part. But here's the twist: the test never really ends. It just evolves. And now that you're aware of it, you won't walk through it blindly anymore. Now, you're walking with purpose. If you felt this message deep in your spirit, it's because it was meant for you. You've passed tests that would have crushed others, and you did it silently. That makes you one of the rare ones. Now, it's time to walk in the knowledge that you're not broken, you're chosen. Make sure to watch the next video. It might just explain why everything in your life had to happen exactly the way it did.